Hey guys, in this video the lovely Mr. B is going to be taking you through simultaneous equations for your GCSE maths. Now there are lots of examples worked through in this video at a nice slow pace, and you can jump into this wherever you want to. Go and look at the pinned comment down below for the timestamp, so you can start with easy questions, and if you're finding this too easy, jump straight through to the hard ones. And then once you have finished this video, you can go and get your revision guide and your workbook from Pearson and use those. Do the questions in there because they are brilliant. And the excellent thing about maths is that it is not example specific. So if you're doing an Excel or AQA or any of the other examples, you can still use these.
On simultaneous equations. There's a lot of working out for each question, and each question will be worth 3 or 4 marks, sometimes more. So I'm going to clear the screen after every question, so I've got plenty of room for the working out. So let's write down the first question, which is 3x plus 2y is equal to 21. And there's a second equation with it, 2x plus 2y is equal to 16. Now what we're trying to find here is the value of x, so we want x equals, and we want to find the value of y, so we're going to have a y equals as well. Now if we're trying to solve one of these equations using our normal solving equation skills, so we've got 3x plus 2y equals 21. I want to get x on its own, so my first step might be to take 2y away from both sides. And then I want to divide by 3 to get rid of the 3 on the x. And that's going to give me 21 take away 2y all over 3. And that's quite a complicated answer. And the big problem we have with this answer is that y is included in the answer. And what we're looking for are number answers. Now we can have decimals potentially, we can have fractions, but we can't have letters in our answer. I want x equals a definitive value. So using our normal solving equation skills, we can't do it. We're just going to have that y. So what this is about is how do we get rid of the second letter? Now there's quite a lot to this, so what I'm going to do is really simplify it for the easy questions, and we'll build up more and more steps as we go towards the hard questions. So we'll start off with telling you that the way you get rid of one of the letters is by taking the equations away from each other. And what we're going to do is set it up as a column subtraction. We're going to take away each part one at a time. So first we look at the x's, and we have 3x, take away 2x, which is 1x. Then we look at the y's, and we have 2y, take away 2y, which is 0y. So we've gotten rid of one of the letters. There's no point in writing 0y. We have no y's, so we're just going to leave a gap. The letter is gone. That's our objective achieved. Then we look at the numbers at the end. 21 take away 6 is 5. So we now know that x is equal to 5. But how do we find out what y is? And that brings us on to the second part of these questions. So what I'm going to do is choose one of the two original equations. Now it doesn't matter which one you choose, you'll get the same answer, but I'm going to choose the second one, which was 2x plus 2y equals 16, because that one's got smaller numbers in it, so it's probably going to be easier to work out. Now we're going to substitute. We have discovered that x is equal to 5, so we are going to swap x with this 5. So my equation isn't going to read 2x, it would be 2 times x, which would be 10. So 2 x's would be 10, and we've got the 2 y's, and we've got the 16. And if we swap x for the number we've discovered for x, then we've lost the letter. So it's another way of eliminating a letter, eliminating what we call a variable. We've discovered what it is, so we can lock it in, and the letter is now gone. So now we only have y's in that equation. And now we just follow our solving equation skills. So I'm going to take 10 away from each side first. That would leave me with 10 take away 10 is 0. We've got the 2y, and 16 take away 10 is 8. And then I'm going to divide by 2. So 2 lots of y divided by 2 would leave us with 1 lot of y, and 8 divided by 2 is 4. And now we've got our answers. So what we want to do now is write a nice clear answer right at the end. I'll write this in a new colour to show it's an answer. So we've got x is equal to 5 and y is equal to 4. And always leave that answer at the end, write it out again, just so the examiner doesn't get mixed up by working out and can't find your answer. Now, looking over this, we've done quite a lot. So our first step is to use our simplifying equation skills, our collecting like term skills with the subtraction. So if you're not confident with when I took away the terms from each other, then you need to go back and watch the collecting like terms video. Then we've got the substitution, where we swapped x with the 5 and we substituted. And again, if you're not confident with the substitution, go and watch the substitution videos. Finally, we solved an equation. And if you're not confident with solving equations, go and watch the solving equation videos. And when you're confident with all three parts, only then are you ready to study simultaneous equations, because it uses all three. Now, the last thing to mention here, as you can see on the screen now, I've labelled our first step, our second step, and our answer. If you do get intimidated by these questions, and if you get parts of it, do as much as you can. You are going to get some marks for just step 1 and identifying the x, maybe up to half the marks. You are going to get some marks for doing the substitution, even if you forget how to solve the equation. So always do as much as you can and get as many of those marks as possible, because again, you might be getting 3-4 marks for a question like this. Let's move on and take a look at question 2. So we have 6x plus 5y is equal to 45. Our second equation is 3x plus 5y is equal to 30. And the way we're going to get rid of one of those letters so we can solve the equation is we are going to take them away from each other. And we'll set it up as a column subtraction. We're going to handle one term at a time. So let's look at the x's first. 6x take away 3x is 3x. Then the y's. 5y take away 5y is 0y. So we don't write it, we leave a gap, and we've gotten rid of one of the letters. And then 45 take away 30 is 15. So now we have 3x is equal to 15. Now we want what 1x is, so we're going to have to solve the equation 3x equals 15. We want x on its own, so we're going to divide by 3, both sides. So 3x divided by 3 is 1x, and 15 divided by 3 is 5. So we know that x is equal to 5. For part 2, we need to do a substitution, so I'm going to choose one of the original two equations to use. And I'm going to use 3x plus 5y is equal to 30. I could have chosen 6x plus 5y equals 45. I'll get the same answer. Because this one's got smaller numbers, it's probably going to be a little bit easier. And our first step, we know that x is equal to 5. So 3 lots of 5 is 15. We can change 3x into 15. So we've got 15 plus 5y is equal to 30. And we've gotten rid of one of the letters. We've gotten rid of the x's this time. So now we solve the equation to find out what y is. So we're going to subtract 15 from both sides. That will give us 5y equals 15. And then I'm going to divide each side by 5. And you'll notice I'm not going to explain too much solving equations here. We've got a video for that, so I'm not going to waste your time going over things that you should already know. So we should have y equals 3 as our final answer to that part. Once you've finished part 2, make sure you just write answers out one last time, nice and clear. X is equal to 5 and y is equal to 3. Moving on to question 3. Now we've got 5x plus y equals 15 and 5x plus 6y equals 40. Now we've been setting these up as a column subtraction, and we always want the largest number on top with a column subtraction. So when I start writing the question down, I'm going to write them the other way around. I'm going to write 5x plus 6y on the top, which was equal to 40. I'll have the smaller numbers, 5x plus 1y equals 15 on the bottom. I'm going to take those away from each other. And it's absolutely fine to swap around the order of the two equations if that makes it easier for you. There's no reason why one is on top and one's on the bottom. But always get the large numbers on top so it's easier for us to work out. So we're going to go through the same method. We'll start with the x's and we'll take them away. 5x take away 5x is 0x, so we'll leave a gap. 6y take away 1y is 5y, and 40 take away 15 is 25. Now you might remember question 1 and 2, we got rid of the y's at this point, we found what x is. In this question, we're going to get rid of the x's and find what y is first. And it makes no difference in this way around. You can just do whatever is easiest. Easier to find x first, find x first. If it's easier to find y first, find y first. We want 1y, so we need to divide by 5 to get what 1y is. Divide both sides by 5. And that will give us 1y is equal to 5. So we've got our first part done. Moving on to part 2. So I'm going to write down one of the two equations to substitute into. Now I'll substitute into the first equation this time because I've got smaller numbers. So 5x plus y is equal to 15. And we know what y is. Y is 5. So I can swap y with a 5. So 5x plus 5 is equal to 15. And now I can solve the equation. We've gotten rid of one of the letters. So let's take 5 away from both sides first. That will leave us with 5x is equal to 10. Then let's divide by 5. So 5x divided by 5 is 1x, and 10 divided by 5 is 2. So that is part 2 done. Now we can write down our final answer. So x is equal to 2, and y is equal to 5. Moving on to question 4, we have 3x plus 4y is equal to 3. And underneath we've got 3x plus 1y is equal to negative 6. So we're going to start having negative numbers involved now. We're going to do it the same way though. We're going to set it up as a column. Subtraction, put the lines in to make it nice and clear what we're doing. And we're going to take away one term at a time. So 3x take away 3x is 0x, leave a space. 4y take away 1y is 3y. And then I'm going to have to be really careful here. I'm going to write it up at the top just to show what we're doing. We've got 3 take away negative 6. So we've got a double negative, and 3 take away negative 6 is going to give us a positive 9. So we can write that in as well. Now, a lot of students who will make a mistake, they'll forget they've got the extra subtraction sign, and they'll just do 3 take away 6 is negative 3, and they'll write that y is equal to negative 1, and that would be a mistake. You might still get a few marks for it, because you're showing off that you can collect some like terms. And if you carried on with the wrong answer and did a substitution, you'll get marks for that as well, because you're showing you know how to substitute. But we'll try and avoid those mistakes if we can. So we need to divide by 3 to find out what y is. So 3y divided by 3 is 1y, and 9 divided by 3 is 3. So y is equal to 3. That's our first part completed. Now for the second part, we're going to substitute. Now what I'm probably going to do here is, you might be tempted to go for the second equation because it's got a 3x and a y, and it looks like it's got smaller numbers perhaps, but it's got a negative number in it, and it's probably easier to avoid the negative numbers if we can. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to write down 3x plus 4y equals 3. And again, it really doesn't matter which one of these two equations you choose to substitute into. Just choose whatever you think's easiest. If you chose the other one, maybe it'll be a little bit harder, but you would get the same answer. Now, we know what y is. Y is 3. So when we're saying 4y, we mean 4 lots of 3, which is 12. So we can swap it for a 12. So 3x plus 12 is equal to 3. So now we'll use our solving equation skills. We need to subtract 12 from both sides. That will leave us with 3x is equal to, now it's 3 take away 12, which will give us negative 9. So again, we can have negative numbers involved here. Next, we need to divide by 3, and that will leave us with x is equal to, now 9 divided by 3 is 3, so negative 9 divided by 3 will be negative 3. Now we have done that, we can write down our final answer, nice and neat. So we have x is equal to negative 3, and y is equal to 3, a positive 3. Moving on to the last easy question, we've got 6x plus 6y is equal to negative 18. And we've got 6x plus 2y is equal to negative 26. We're very, very careful with those negative numbers. We're still going to set it up as a column subtraction, and we're going to do one term at a time. So looking at the x terms first, 6x take away 6x is 0x, so leave a gap. Now the y's, 6y take away 2y is 4y. And then I'm going to write this out separately, again, just to make sure I'm not making any mistakes. So we've got negative 18 take away negative 26. Now a double negative is going to make a plus, so that's going to give us negative 18 plus 26. So negative 18 plus 26, we're going to add on 18 to get up to 0, and then we're going to have 8 left over. So it's going to be a positive 8. That leaves us with 4y is equal to 8. Let's solve the equation. Divide both sides by 4, and that will give us y is equal to 2. So that's the first part of our simultaneous equation completed. Now for the second part, we're going to choose one to substitute into. Now, again, looking at which one's got the smallest numbers, negative 26 is quite a large negative number. So why don't we go for the top one? 6y is larger than 2y, but the negative 18 might be a little bit more reasonable. But again, it doesn't really matter which one we choose. So 6x plus 6y is equal to negative 18. We know what y is. Y is 2, so 6 lots of 2 is 12. So 6x plus 12 is equal to negative 18. Now we can solve the equation. Let's start with subtracting 12 from both sides, and that will give us 6x, and then negative 18 take away another 12 will give us negative 30. Now we can divide that by 6, and that'll give us x is equal to, now 30 divided by 6 is 5, so negative 30 divided by 6 will be negative 5. And that's the second part of our simultaneous equation completed. All that's left is to write our final answer. So x is equal to negative 5 and y is equal to 2. And that's the end of the easy section. Moving on to the medium questions. So we have 8x take away 5y is equal to 36. And we have 8x plus 2y is equal to 64. Now, using the method we've just been using, you're going to set this up as a column, which is absolutely correct, and you're going to try it as a column subtraction. Now, looking at this, I can see I'm going to get some negative numbers here. I'm going to do 36 take away 64 and get a negative number. So again, this might be a situation where you'd like to swap these two around. So let's write them the other way around and have the largest numbers on top. So on top, I'd have 8x plus 2y equals 64. On the bottom, I'll have 8x take away 5y is equal to 36. So again, swap these around in any kind of order that looks like it's going to help you do this calculation easier. Just make sure you swap all three terms. You can't mix and match. Let's subtract. 8x take away 8x is 0x. Then, be careful with this, we've got 2 take away negative 5, and that's going to equal a positive 7. A double negative is the same as adding. Double negatives cancel out. So we've got 7 lots of y. And then we're going to do 64 take away 36, 28. If you're not sure on that, feel free to do a column subtraction and work it out that way. So now we need to solve the equation. We need to divide by 7 to get what 1y is. Make sure you do it to both sides. So 1y is equal to 4, and that's the first part of the equation complete. Now I'm going to choose one of the original two equations to substitute into, and I'm going to substitute into 8x plus 2y is equal to 64. I chose that because the other one's got a negative number in it, so we'll try and avoid negative numbers if possible. And we know what y is. Y is 4, so 2 lots of y would be 8. So it's 8x plus 8 is equal to 64. Let's solve the equation. Subtracting 8 from both sides. 8x is equal to 56. And then we are going to divide by 8 to find out what 1x is. So 1x would be equal to 7. That's the second part of our simultaneous equation complete. X equals 7 and y equals 4. Moving on to question 2, we've got 4x plus 3y is equal to 22, and we've got 5x take away 3y is equal to 14. I'll just swap them around just to get the largest numbers on top, and we're going to follow the method been using so far and set it up as a column subtraction. Now let's see what happens. So we've got 4x take away 5x will give us negative 1x, and then, and remember to be careful here, we've got 3 take away negative 3, which is going to give us 6. So we need to write in plus 6y. And then 12 take away 14 is 8. Now, we have a problem here. The whole reason why we're taking away is to get rid of one of the letters. Because of that tricky double negative on the 3y, now we've got 6y and we haven't gotten rid of one of the letters. So we haven't actually made any progress here. So what do we do? So on the easy questions, I did say that I'd simplified things somewhat. It'll get more difficult on the medium questions. And this is one of the 2 ways these will get more difficult. And it's sometimes you actually need to add these together. And you have to make a choice if it's an add or a subtract. Now, how do you know which one it'll be? Well, it'll be whichever one eliminates a variable, gets rid of one of the letters. So let's try adding them. So 4x plus 5x would give us 9x. Again, being careful, we've got 3y plus a negative 3y. Now, a plus and a minus next to each other will cancel out to make a minus. So 3 take away 3 will give us 0. So we're going to get 0y, and we've eliminated one of the variables. Then adding up the numbers, 22 plus 14 is going to give us 36. So adding has gotten rid of one of the variables, so now we can continue. The trick to knowing it's an add or subtract is looking at the variable you're trying to eliminate, the one that's got the same numbers matched up, and we'll talk more about that on the hard questions. And you've got a plus 3 and a minus 3. So you've got the same number, and you've got a plus and a minus, then it's going to be an adding question. If you've got the same symbol, so on the previous questions we've maybe had an add and an add, then it's going to be a taking away question. So let's make a little record of that so we can revise it. So the same, it's going to be a taking away question. And by the same, we might have a takeaway and a takeaway, or we might have add and an add. If the symbols are different, then it's going to be an addition question. And by different, you might have a takeaway and an add, or an add and a takeaway. And this is on the variable that you replace in. So look at the question we have here. You know, the x's are both positive, but it's not a takeaway question because we're eliminating the y, or the y's have got different symbols. Now, this might take quite a bit of time to get your head around. So what you can do is just try it both ways and be very, very careful with negative numbers and see which way does actually get rid of a letter. So moving back to the question, we need to find out what 1x is. So we need to divide by 9. Divide both sides by 9. That would give us x is equal to 4. So now finally we've got the first part of a simultaneous equation completed. For the second part, we are going to substitute. I'm going to choose the top row, so 4x plus 3y equals 22. Just to divide the takeaway, doesn't matter which one you choose. We know that x is 4, so 4 lots of 4 is 16. So 16 plus 3y is equal to 22. Let's solve the equation. Let's subtract 16 from both sides, giving us 3y is equal to 6. And then we can divide both sides by 3, and that will give us y is equal to 2. So that's the second part of our simultaneous equation completed. All that's left is our final answer. So x is equal to 4 and y is equal to 2. Moving on to question 3, we have 3x plus 4y is equal to 10, and 3x take away 5y is equal to 1. Now we have to decide if this is an adding question or if it's a subtraction question. Now it's all about the variable we are eliminating. Now you'll notice the y's, I've got a 4 and a 5 on, which are different numbers. So adding 4 and -5 isn't going to get a 0 and neither will take it away. But with the x's, they've both got a 3. So if you do 3 take away 3, we're going to get 0. So this is going to be a takeaway question. I use a little key that we talked about in the last question. We've got a +3 and a +3. So because they both have the same symbols, it's going to be a takeaway question. A common mistake is students will look at the two symbols in the middle, the +4, the takeaway 5, and they'll say, oh, those are different symbols, it's an adding question. It's about the symbols on the variable you're eliminating, in this case the x, and if they've got no symbols because they're a front, then they're going to be pluses. So let's take them away. 3x take away 3x is 0, that's why we're taking away. Then we've got 4 take away -5. So it's a double negative, that will give us 9. So it'll be 9y. Then 10 take away 1 is 9. So let's solve the equation. So that will give us y is equal to 1, and that's the first part complete. Moving on to the second part, I'm going to write down one of the two equations. So I'm going to choose 3x plus 4y is equal to 10. We know that y is 1, so 4 lots of y would be 4. So 3x plus 4 is equal to 10. Let's solve the equation. Subtract 4 from each side. 3x is equal to 6, and divide both sides by 3. X is equal to 2. So let's write down our final answer. X equals 2 and y equals 1. Question 4, we're starting to have some negative numbers again. So we've got 2x take away 5y is equal to 4, and 2x plus 1y is equal to -8. Let's set up the equation, or the column method, and then we need to decide if we're adding or taking away. So which variable are we eliminating? So the x variables are the same and they're both positive, so this is going to be a takeaway question again. So 2x take away 2x is 0. Then we've got -5 take away 1, which would give us -6. So we're going to have -6y. Then we're going to have 4 take away -8, double negative, which gives us a +12. So -6y is equal to 12. So let's divide both sides. I'm going to divide by -6 and do that to both sides. So 6 divided by 6 would give us 1, and a negative divided by a negative would be a double negative, which would give us a +y. 12 divided by 6 is 2, and 12 divided by -6 will give us -2. So a little bit more complicated now with the negative numbers, but we've finished the first part of our equation. Now we're going to substitute. I'm going to substitute into 2x plus 1y is equal to -8, just because I know I'm going to substitute in for y, and it's easier to substitute into 1y than -5y. Now we know that y is -2, so let's swap it. So we've got 2x take away 2 is equal to -8. We can solve the equation, add 2 to both sides. So 2x is equal to -6, and then divide both sides by 2. That will give us x is equal to -3. So that's the second part of our simultaneous. Now we just need to write down our final answer. X is equal to -3 and y is equal to -2. Now for the last medium question, question 5, we've got 6x plus 3y is equal to -6, and we've got 7x take away 3y is equal to 19. Now again, we have to decide if this is an adding or subtracting question. So we need to think about which variable are we eliminating, are we getting rid of. Now the x's have got different numbers on them, so we're not going to be eliminating those. But the y's have got the same number, and they've got a +3 and a -3. They've got opposite symbols. So this is going to be an adding question. So let us add them. 6x plus 7x will give us 13x. 3 plus negative 3 will give us 0. A plus and a minus will cancel out and make a minus. So 3 take away 3 is 0. So we'll leave a gap for the y's, we don't have any. And then negative 6 plus 19, that's going to give us 13. You could read that the other way around. 19 take away 6 is 13. Let's solve the equation. Divide both sides by 13. And x is equal to 1. That's the first part of our simultaneous equation complete. Step 2, I'm going to substitute. So let's do the first 6x plus 3y is equal to negative 6. We know that x is 1, so 6 lots of 1 will give us 6. So 6 plus 3y is equal to negative 6. Let's solve the equation. We can subtract 6 from both sides. That will give us 3y is equal to, now negative 6, take away another 6, will be negative 12. Then we can divide by 3, and that will give us y is equal to, now 12 take away 3 is 4, so negative 12 divided by 3 will be negative 4. So that's the second part of our simultaneous equation completed. Let's write down our final answer is equal to 1. Y is equal to negative 4. Now, moving on to the hard questions, this is where things get significantly more difficult. So let's have a look at the first question. So we have 5x plus 3y is equal to 74, and 8x take away 2y is equal to 64. Now, the problem comes when we look at, well, is it an adding question or a takeaway question? And we're going to look at the variables and look at which numbers match up. Now, with the x variable, we've got 5 and 8 on them, so they're different. And on the y variable, we've got 3 and negative 2, and they're different. So no matter if we add or take away, we're not going to get anywhere. We're not going to get x or y removed from our equation. Now, the solution to this is very similar to adding fractions with different denominators. So we're bringing in yet another difficult topic into this. Now, we're going to choose x or y. Now, I'm going to suggest choosing y because it's got smaller numbers. And let's have a look at what we've got in y. So we've got a 3 and we've got a 2. And I want those two numbers to be the same. So we're going to multiply them by each other. So the bottom number is a 2. So we're going to multiply the top equation by 2. The top number is a 3, so we're going to multiply the bottom equation by 3, just like you would when adding fractions with different denominators. Now, when I'm saying times by 2 and times by 3, every single term has to be multiplied by 2. So the 5x has to be multiplied by 2 to give us 10x. The 3y has to be multiplied by 2 to give us 6y. And even the 74 has to be multiplied by 2 to give us 148. Same thing with the bottom. All three terms have to be multiplied by 3. So 8x times 3 would give us 24x, and negative 2 times 3 would give us negative 6y. And then 64 times 3. So 60 times 3 is 180. 4 times 3 is 12. So 12 and 180 will give us 192. And now that we've done that, you'll see that the y variables now have the same number. They've both got a 6. So now we can carry on and turn this into a column method and work out we're adding or subtracting. Now, since we're eliminating the y's, we've got a plus and a minus. Those symbols are different, so it's going to be an add question. So let's add all of these together. So 10x plus 24x would give us 34x. Then 6 add negative 6 would give us 0, because a plus and a minus cancel out to make a minus. So 6 take away 6 is 0, so leave a gap. And then we're going to have 148 plus 2. So we can use a column method. So 8 plus 2 will give us 10, and carry 1. 4 plus 9 is 13, plus the one we carried is 14. Carry another one, and then 1 plus 1 plus the one we carried will give us a 3. So it's quite convenient to write it out as a column because you can use all your column methods. Now, much larger numbers here. It looks like it might be quite complicated, but we can see we've got 34 in both, so it looks like x might be 10. But let's do this properly. So let's divide both sides by 34. So 34 divided by 34 would be 1, so 1x. And 340 divided by 34 is going to give us 10. So x is equal to 10. Now we've done that, the rest is going to be exactly the same as we did with the easy and the medium questions. So step 2 is not going to change. So basically we've got an extra part to step 1 where we have to multiply to make 2 of the variables be the same. So now we can choose an equation to substitute into. Now we can substitute into any of the 4 equations. So the original 2 or the 2 that we multiplied up. Now we're probably not going to substitute into the multiplied versions because it's larger numbers. So I'm going to choose one of the original ones. And I think I'll just choose the first one. So we have 5x plus 3y is equal to 74. We know that x is 10, so it would be 50 plus 3y is equal to 74. And then we can use our solving equation skills. So we can take 50 away from both sides. So 3y is equal to 24. And then we can divide both sides by 3. So y is equal to 24 divided by 3 is 8. So as normal, that is the second part of our simultaneous equation completed. All that's left now is to write down our final answer. So we have worked out that x is equal to 10 and y is equal to 8. Moving on to question 3, we have 8x take away 4y is equal to 20, and we have 6x plus 10y is equal to 132. Now we need to choose if we're going to be dealing with y or x here, and I think it'll be easier to deal with the y values because multiplying by 10 is normally quite easy to do. And multiplying by 4 would be the smallest multiplication we could possibly do here. Again, if you chose to do the x first and multiplied by 8 and 6, it's not going to make a difference. You'll get the same answer. It just might be a little bit more complicated in the maths you're going to do. So the top number is a 4, so we're multiplying the bottom equation by 4. Make sure you multiply all 3 parts of the equation. So 8x times 10 is 80x. 4y times 10 would be 40y, and 20 times 10 would be 200. Next, multiplying by 4, so 6 times 4 is 24x, 10 times 4 would be 40y, and then 132 times 4, so we can use a calculator for that. So 132 times 4 is going to give us 528. So now we can set up our column method. I will need to work out if we are adding or subtracting. Now, because the symbols on the y's are different symbols, this is going to be an adding question. So let's add them together. So 80 plus 24 will give us 104x. Negative 40 plus 40 is going to give us 0, which is why we chose to multiply those. So we leave a gap for the y's. And then 200 plus 528 will give us 728. So now we can solve the equation. We're going to divide both sides by 104. So divide the number by itself and you're going to get 1, so it'll be 1x. And then if you use a calculator for this, 728 divided by 104 should give you 7. So x is equal to 7. That's the first part of our simultaneous equation complete. So now we need to substitute. Now I'm just going to substitute into the first equation because I think the equals 20 at the end will be easier to deal with than the equals 1 equation. We know that x is 7, so 8 lots of 7 is going to give us a 56. So it'll be 56 take away 4y equals 20. Now we can try and solve the equation. So we're going to take away 56 from both sides. That will give us negative 4y is equal to, now 20 take away 56, so take away 20 to get us to 0, there'll be negative 36 left over. And now to get y on its own, we need to divide by negative 4. So divide the number by itself and you get 1. And then 36 divided by 4 would give us 9. And a negative divided by a negative. It's going to cancel out and give us a positive answer. So that's the end of the second part of our simultaneous equation. Now we just need to write down the final answer. So x is equal to 7 and y is equal to 9. Now looking at question 4, and we've got some negative numbers creeping in again. So we've got 4x, take away 3y, equals negative 32. Underneath that, we've got 10x plus 4y is equal to 12. So we have to choose which variable we're going to make the same, and I think we'll go with the 3 and the 4 because we've just got smaller numbers there. So we're going to multiply these equations by 3 and by 4. So if the top number is 3, you have to multiply the bottom numbers by 3. If the bottom numbers are 4, we have to multiply the top numbers by 4. So let's multiply everything by 4. 4x times 4 is 16x. 3 times 4 will be 12, so 12y, and then 32 times 4, we can use a calculator, but you should be getting negative 128. Then multiplying the bottom by 3, 10x times 3 will give us 30x, 4y times 3 would give us 12y, and 12 times 3 is going to give us 36. Now 12 I've got different symbols on, so we'll be adding these together, and let's set up our column method. So we'll go through now step by step, and we are going to work out each term one at a time, add them together. So 16 plus 30 would give us 46x. A negative 12 plus a positive 12 is going to give us 0, and then negative 128, so we'll type that into a calculator, plus 36 is going to give us negative 92. So now we can solve the equation. Let's divide both sides by 46, and that should give us that x is equal to negative 2. So now we need to substitute. Now I'm going to go for the second equation just to avoid some of the negative numbers. So we have 10x plus 4y is equal to 12. We know that x is negative 2, so 10 lots of that would be negative 20. Now we've eliminated a variable, we can solve the equation. Let's add 20 to both sides. And that will give us that 4y is equal to 32. Now we need to divide by 4. So that gives us that y is equal to 8. That's the second part of our simultaneous equation complete. The last step is just write down our answer nice and clear. So x is equal to negative 2 and y is equal to 8. Now looking at the final question, we have got 8x take away 6y equals negative 10, and we have got 5x plus 7y is equal to negative 60. Now with the multiplications, I think we're going to multiply by the x numbers just to get some smaller multiplications, and multiplying by 5 is usually quite easy to do. So we're going to multiply the top number by 5 and the bottom numbers by 8. Let's multiply all of the top by 5, so 8 times 5 is 40, so 40x. 6 times 5 is 30, so that'll be negative 30y, and 10 times 5 is 50, so negative 50. Multiplying the bottom by 8, so 5 times 8 would be 40, that's 40x. 7 times 8 is 56, so 56y. And then 60 times 8, well 6 times 8 is 48, so 60 times 8 will be 480. Now we're going to set up our column method. We need to work out we are adding or subtracting. Now we're eliminating the x's because they've both got the same numbers on them. There's no symbols, so they're both positive. So we've got the same symbol. We're going to be doing a takeaway. So 40 take away 40 is 0, so 0x. Negative 30 take away 56 would give us negative 80. And then, I'm going to be very, very careful here, we've got negative 50 take away negative 480. Now a negative and a negative makes a positive, so we're doing negative 50 plus 480, which should give us 430, and that's a positive 430. So now we can solve the equation. We need to divide by negative 86 on both sides. Divide a number by itself and you get 1, so we've got 1y is equal to, and then 430 divided by 86 should give us 5. We divide by negative, it will give you negative 5. Next, we need to substitute. Now, I'm going to choose a substitute into the second equation because I can see I've got a negative value of y, so I don't want a double negative there. We'll try and avoid that. So 5x plus 7y. We know that y is negative 5, so 7 lots of negative 5 would give us negative 35. So now we have an equation that we can solve. Let's add 35 to both sides, and that should give us 5x is equal to negative 25. Now we can divide both sides by 5 for our final answer, and that will give us x is equal to negative 5. So we can write down our final answer. X is equal to negative 5, and y is equal to negative 5 as well. Now, before we finish, there is actually one very important simultaneous equation technique that I've not gone through, and it's how to check your answers. And I've left this till right at the end, just so we're not overloading you with too much information all at once. So how do we check our answers? We don't get any marks for this, by the way, but if you had made a mistake, then this would find your mistake for you, and then you know to have another go at the simultaneous equations. So, looking at how did our second step, we substituted into 5x plus 7y. We substituted the second equation. To check your answer, all you need to do is substitute into the first equation. So that was 8x minus 6y equals negative. Can't substitute into any of the other equations, it's not going to work. It's going to be a different equation. Now, because we know the answers, we do know what x and y are. So x is negative 5, so 8 lots of negative 5 is negative 40. And we also know what y is. Y is negative 5. So we're taking away 6 lots of negative 5 is negative 30. And all of that should equal negative 10. Now to check your answer, we need to see if this equation is true. Now I can see we've got a double negative, so let's fix that. Negative 40 plus 30 equals negative 10. So, is that true? Does a negative 40 plus 30 give us negative 10? No, it does, and because that checks out, we know that we have finished, we've got our answer completely right. If that gave you an equation that made no sense, and it didn't add 10, then you know you've made a mistake somewhere, and you know that you need to have another go. So that is how you check your answers in simultaneous equations. It's an optional step, but it's worth doing in an exam just to make sure you've not made any mistakes, because again, these can be worth 3, 4, even 5 marks sometimes.